Hello and welcome to Comic Island. My name is Arden, and today we're going on a guided tour of Battleworld. So I've had at least one or two people asking about this map that I've been using for some of my videos. I like maps in fiction. I think they give you a great sense of the scale and scope of a world, and I love imagining what all little places look like, their history, and their culture. It works well to convey a lot of information at once, and I just find them fascinating. So today we're going to go through each region of Battleworld based on its numerical code provided with the map, with whatever information I happen to have or can find on each domain of Battleworld. You'll notice my map looks a little different than the one you've probably seen before. That's because it features 3 of the classified regions on the map that the original one left out because those areas' names contain spoilers. If you'd like, you can find a copy of this map pretty easily on Google and can follow along for yourself. Also, keep in mind this video is being made before the majority of Secret Wars has come out. There's a lot I don't know yet, and you'll have to check out each of the series and related tie-ins for yourself to find out more. This is a beginner's guide, one that will review past content and relevant stories to help you understand what's going on without spoiling what's to come. Now, let's get started. Part 1. Welcome to Battleworld. You may be wondering what this place is, where it exists, and why. Well, you see, the multiverse is kind of dead. Yeah, I know, we were all kind of really bummed out about it too. But now's not the time to grieve or worry about the future, as this orientation video will introduce you to the only remaining world in existence, Battleworld. So just to be clear, this is the only known planet in the multiverse. It is the remnants of several realities that have been cobbled together into one world. Each domain represents a separate universe or reality with a Baron to rule over it. All Barons serve the one and true God King, our noble savior, Dr. Doom. All hail Doom! Do not question Doom! Obey Doom! Doom's almighty will and power is ensured through his police force, the Thor Corps, the most ridiculous-sounding police force ever made. Their leader is Sheriff Strange. You should always listen to what a Thor tells you to do. Or else. This is the map of Battleworld. Each number denotes a domain. You can live in any domain, but under no circumstances should you go to these 3 at the bottom. These areas are the Forbidden Zones. It sounds exciting, but really they're just terrible. This is the Shield. It's also called the Wall, but HBO doesn't like us to use that name. The Shield is the only thing that protects us from the dangers of the Forbidden Zone. You must never, ever cross the Shield and enter a Forbidden Zone. No throwing sharks over the wall either. That shit is illegal. But seriously, you don't want to break this rule. Nobody likes to be eaten by zombies. Now that we've covered the basics, let's examine each of the domains more closely in Part 2, the domains. Number 1, Greenland. Now we all know places called Greenland are traditionally sunny and full of foliage, but this place is actually not quite along those lines. Greenland was once a normal place with normal people, until Dr. Bruce Banner had a minor incident during an experiment that left the entire domain infested with gamma radiation. This is a map of Greenland as it exists today. It's pretty shitty unless you're a giant green rage monster, or if you like giant dangerous insects. Its Baron is the Red King, who rules from the Mud Kingdom. He's probably an asshole. The great and all-knowing Doom largely leaves these savages to themselves, so long as they never get too far out of line. If you are visiting this area, bring a T-Rex! For more information on Greenland, you can check out the Planet Hulk series. Number 2, Dystopia. Not much is yet known about this neighbor to Greenland. What we do know is that this area is ruled by Maestro, an alternative version of Hulk who has a combination of Bruce Banner's intelligence and the Hulk's brutal nature. He's also kind of an asshole. You can find out more about Dystopia in the Future Imperfect comics, where the future will probably be less than ideal. Number 3, the Domain of Apocalypse. I don't know much about what this place is like, but it's a pretty safe assumption the situation will be more or less the same as the original Age of Apocalypse. In this alternate universe, Apocalypse took over the world after Professor X died years earlier. It was a pretty awesome story, but this world was a terrible place overall. Basically, if you aren't a genocidal mutant, then odds are you're gonna wind up either in a death camp or as a fugitive. But at least you might be able to become friends with a nice version of Magneto. If you'd like to learn more about the Domain of Apocalypse, then you should check out the Age of Apocalypse tie-in. Number 4. Egyptia. Do you like sand? What about pyramids? How about statues of cat people to tell you riddles or some shit? If yes, then Egyptia might be right for you. Its baron is Kon Shu, the mystical god of vengeance. You might have heard of him as the guy who drove Moon Knight crazy and gave him superpowers. This area is based on a timeline in Marville where the Egyptian civilization never collapsed and went on to have a major role in modern civilization. It was more or less the same idea as regular Earth otherwise, just with characters of a different design and ethnicity. The mutants were pretty much the same too, except for they started a team called the Mutant Liberation Front, or as I'm sure they like to be called, the MILFs. They came from a New Warrior story called Forever Yesterday, which will also be the title for the related tie-in for this area. Number 5. Technopolis. Now this place isn't that bad, but visitors are encouraged to bring extra strength sunscreen to avoid nasty burns, as well as power armor to avert infection of a deadly virus unique to this domain that will definitely kill you. Luckily, many companies sell armor at a relatively reasonable prices in this domain. 2 of the leaders in this armor industry are Anthony Stark, Baron of Technopolis, and his brother/rival Arno Stark. You can find out more about this area in the Armor Wars tie-in. Number 6. The Valley of Doom. Not much is known about this area. Its name was only recently revealed, which is why many of you might have a classified entry on your maps for this area. The God King Doom sees fit to keep this place largely in the shadows, but it seems clear that this will take place on a new reality that takes Marvel characters and puts them in a Western setting. It looks interesting, and you can find out more in the tie-in called 1872. Number 7. Spider Island. This once nice island has been infested with man-spiders, and the Spider Queen rules this domain. The original story was basically involving a huge portion of New York City getting Spider-Man's powers, only for them to start to mutate into man-sized spiders themselves. While they were eventually cured in the original timeline, this doesn't seem to be the case on Battleworld. But on the positive side, it looks like Mary Jane isn't a horrible monster and is running around using her powers in her underwear. So maybe Spider Island isn't so bad. Plus Agent Venom is there, and that's cool. So you can find out more about this area in the Spider Island comic, which comes out in July. Number 8. The Regency. Oh boy, more spiders! This place actually sounds kinda normal though, and will feature content involving the wedding of Peter Parker and Mary Jane, their child from an alternate future named Mayday Parker, and the One More Day story that almost ruined Spider-Man comics for me. If you're wondering, One More Day is a terrible, awful story where Peter Parker gives up his marriage to Mary Jane to save Aunt May's life. It actually wasn't the worst idea in the world, but it was executed so poorly that it is frequently cited as one of the worst Spider-Man stories ever. So I'm not really sure what to expect out of this domain, but you can find out more in the Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows tie-in. Number 9. King James, England. Do you want to live in Battleworld but without the conveniences of modern communication technology, indoor plumbing, or social justice? Well then perhaps King James's England is the right place for you. Based on Marvel 1602, this place features Marvel characters in, well, the year 1602. It's actually a really fun story that I enjoyed quite a bit, and you should check out the original for yourself. In Battleworld, most of the attention seems to be focused on Angela, who in this story is a witch hunter. Now, this comic hasn't come out yet, but it's safe to assume this means one of 2 things. First, it might just mean that she's actually hunting real witches. Magic does exist in Battleworld after all. But in the original 1602, the persecution of witches was used as an analog for the mutant race. So she might be hunting mutants, which I think would be a really cool story. In either case, you can find out more about her and this domain in 1602, Witch Hunter Angela. Number 10. Weirdworld. I don't know what this place is. It's based on a story I've never heard of before, where it looks like 2 kids are fighting a dragon or something. The cover advertises it as like Lord of the Rings, so I guess it's some fantasy place? You could call it a weird fantasy place. Waka waka. Anyhow, the cover looks like this is a fantasy place like Battleworld, and the comic that will cover this domain is being written by Jason Aaron, who I usually really like. So who knows, it could be cool. Number 11. Kunlun. Now this is a name that should sound familiar as the mystical city where Iron Fist got his powers or something. Here it is as a whole domain, ruled by Emperor Zhang Zu. The comic Master of Kung Fu takes place here. Number 12. Utopolis. Hey, do you like lazy ripoffs of DC heroes that Marvel thinks are still relevant for some reason? Well, I sure don't. Nevertheless, Utopolis is a domain from an alternate universe where, well, it's the Justice League. That's all you really need to know. The Baron of this region is Hyperion, also known as Superman, and that's kind of cool, I guess. He had a cool part in Time Runs Out at the very least. And the comic covering them isn't titled Squadron Supreme, but Squadron Sinister, a similar but different team created by a cosmic being during some weird time travel adventure. And yes, if you're wondering, this is super confusing and inaccessible. But the Squadron Sinister consisted of 4 members: Dr. Spectrum, Hyperion, Whizzer, I wonder if they'll keep that name for the Secret Wars, and Nighthawk. But on the cover of the Secret Wars Squadron Sinister, there's a lot of other heroes, most of whom I don't even recognize. I could look into this, but I'm pretty sure my brain just melted out of my Number 13. New Mars. Now this is another domain based on the lush history of obscure Marvel titles nobody cares about anymore. But unlike the others, this one's actually quite interesting. This is an alternate universe where basically the War of the Worlds happened, and the tripod aliens took over and created a new version of Mars. This area is based around a comic called Killraven, named after the lead character of these stories. The original comic is pretty cool overall and featured the first interracial kiss in American comics. I hope it was between these two. And that's all that's really known about this area. I don't know which comic, if any, New Mars will appear in, but at the very least it looks quite interesting. Number 14. Doomgard. Ah, the mighty and glorious Doomgard, where our Lord and Savior dooms mighty Thor corpse and force our master's will without question. Anyone may enter this glorious place if they can lift a Mjolnir and serve with their fellow Thors. And this is likely where some of the Thor's tie-in will take place. Number 15. Higher Avalon. This is where Captain Britain, the Mighty Defenders, and the Captain Britain Corps watch over an ethereal dimension known as Avalon, or Otherworld. This is a place associated with high fantasy. Gods, elves, dragons, and other such beings were known to roam the original Otherworld. Do you have a career in manufacturing or electrical engineering? Well then stay the fuck away from this place because there's virtually no industry whatsoever. The original Avalon housed many factions and beings, but what's most important is the Captain Britain Corps, a team of heroes who each inhabited a different reality and worked to protect the multiverse. But they probably just do regular superhero stuff in Avalon now. If you'd like to learn more about this place, you can check out Captain Britain and the Mighty Defenders, now with an extra long title. The Mighty Defenders look pretty cool too. There's She-Hulk, Rescue, White Tiger, Sword Person, and I'm gonna call him Kevin. Number 16. Arachnia. This is a version of Manhattan, not to be confused with the other 6 versions of Manhattan that exist on Battleworld. Yes, there are at least 7 versions of New York City and Battleworld in total. Hope you like pizza and Jews. This place is filled with spider people. So many Spider-Man domains. Norman Osborn is in this story, and he is most definitely an asshole. He killed Gwen Stacy, or a different Gwen Stacy, and Spider-Man disappeared following her death. 10 years later, Osborn resurfaced and became Baron of Arachnia. He's also head of a powerful company known as Oscorp. For more information, you can check out the Spider-Verse comic tie-in. Number 17. Marville. This one is based on the Avengers vs. X-Men story, but you probably shouldn't get excited about this area. It's based on the one-shot A-Babies vs. X-Babies, and will be featured in the giant-sized Little Marvel AVX. Do I really need to say any more? The only thing I can suggest is this would actually be one of the few places on Battleworld that would actually be an ideal place to live. You aren't likely to be eaten by giant insects, turned into a giant spider, or converted into Martian fertilizer. Yeah, you probably have to deal with a bunch of dumb babies, but babies are easy to deal with. You just have to push on that soft spot on their Number 18. The Eye of Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto was originally an amulet worn by the superhero Doctor Strange, so it is no surprise that this domain is largely based around him. Not much is known about this area, but you are not to question the will of Doom. Strange serves as Doom's spokesperson, and though their origins and relationship to the universe that preceded Battleworld are currently unknown, that doesn't matter, because it's not your job to ask questions. Number 19. Doomstadt. Nowhere in Battleworld is quite as important as the domain where the God King himself sits at the seat of the World Tree. This region is the capital of our venerable world, and it is from here that the great God King Doom rules with impunity from Castle Doom. Court is held here for those who would dare to oppose our God, and we must never question the judgment of our almighty ruler. There is also an arena run by Arcade called the Colosseum, where warriors may prove their worth to our King Almighty. And for idiots who would dare cross Doom, the mighty Galactus stands guard at the castle gates. Yes, Galactus is Doom's guard dog, just so we're clear about who's on top on this planet. Number 20. The Kingdom of Manhattan. Yep, it's another Manhattan. So many Manhattans. And this Manhattan has two Manhattans. Earth 616 and the ultimate version of Manhattan. Wow, two Marvel Manhattans in one big Manhattan. Two Stark Towers and two Baxter Buildings in two Manhattans. But there's only one Avengers Mansion because that only existed in the 616 Manhattan. Attilan is also here in the 616 Manhattan, featured in the series Inhumans, Attilan Rising. Additionally, deep underground the Kingdom of Manhattan lies the Monster Metropolis, a city where monsters live and featuring a comic called Miss Deadpool and the Howling Commandos. Wait, what? What's going on here? What even is Manhattan? Is it an island? Is it a city? Is it a project? I'm so confused. Bulls? Testicles? Why is New York City the most important place on the universe? I don't know, but I guess it would be good to read up on this city. And after doing some exhaustive research with a team of historians and baby geniuses, we have determined everything you need to know about New York City. The first documented visit by a European was in 1524 by Giovanni de Verranzo, a Florentine explorer in the service of the French crown, who sailed his ship La Dauphine into New York Harbor. He claimed the area for France and named it Nouveau Algum. The highest point in this city is Todd Hill on Staten Island, which, at 409.8 feet or 124.9 meters above sea level, is the highest point on the eastern seaboard south of Maine. Boroughs. Asian Americans in New York City, according to the 2010 census, number more than 1 million, greater than the combined totals of San Francisco and Los Angeles. I don't know who the Baron of the Kingdom of Manhattan is, but if I had to guess, I would say Baron Bill de Blasio has a very nice ring to it. Number 21. The City. This is actually a city that isn't based on Manhattan as far as I could tell. It'll be featured in the Korvac saga, starring this area's barons, Korvac and Simon Williams. Let's talk about what we know about these two. Williams is a superhero known as Wonder Man, and has the power over energy and is made of energy himself. He's also a celebrity. Korvac is a villain who has gone up against the Avengers before, and has these powers over energy too. Based on the cover, it looks like Korvac possessed Wonder Man, and is now serving as its Baron, and he will be the villain against what looks like a pretty interesting collection of heroes. The original Korvac saga was a story where the titular villain gains godlike powers and goes up against the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers. He winds up killing most of them until he kills himself and restores all the people he killed back to life. I know it sounds kind of stupid, but to me it is one of those classic Avengers stories. This place is also likely home to Holy Wood and Forest Hills, the former of which is likely the origin of the film industry and pop culture on Battleworld, as many characters still have a familiarity with contemporary film, fashion, and other ideas. Number 22. The Warzone. Here is a domain inspired by Marvel's Civil War. Oh, fuck. This region is ruled by President Anthony Stark, who is at war with General America. Presumably, it will draw heavily from the original Civil War, where Iron Man and Captain America went to war over the superhero version of the Patriot Act. Number 23. New Quack City. This area of Battleworld is New York City, but populated by anthropomorphic animals. It's awful, but will be depicted in the one-shot Howard the Human, which at the very least is a kind of funny idea. But seriously, fuck this cutesy animal noise. Number 24. The Far East. No, don't worry, this isn't Asia. I mean, we have 7 Manhattans, but why would we possibly want to include anything from the Eastern Hemisphere? America isn't there! So this is an area with dinosaurs in it, and there's a fighter pilot named the Phantom Eagle. Thumbs up! You can find out more about this area in the tie-in called Where Monsters Dwell. Number 25. The Valley of Flame. This adjacent and large area east of the Far East, god damn it Marvel, features more dinosaurs and evokes a prehistoric Earth. This is probably where Steve, the Captain Rogers, got his dinosaur from in the Planet Hulk series. A large amount of this area borders with the Shield, showing that this place is relatively remote from the more populated and safer areas in the north. Still, if you like Jurassic Park or if your name is Chris Pratt, then this might be the perfect domain for you! Number 26. The Hydra Empire. This area is ruled by Hydra. Hail Hydrant! We don't know who the Baron is, but it probably is somebody who is related on some level to Hydra. You can find out more about this area in 2 series, the first called Hail Hydra, and the second called Hank Johnson, Agent of Hydra. Number 27. 2099. This area is based off an alternate future universe called Marvel 2099. You've probably heard of this one before, but in case you haven't, this universe features futuristic versions of Marvel heroes. The original story was known for dark tones and a distinct anti-corporate message, visualized with mega corporations controlling almost every aspect of life in the future. On Battleworld, Miguel Stone serves as this area's Baron, CEO of Alchemax, and commander of this era's Avengers, who serve to protect this domain. Miguel's a pretty cool guy, and in the original 2099 story, he would become that era's Spider-Man. Number 28. Hala Field. Named after Hala, a central world in the Kree Empire that was destroyed years ago, not much is currently known about this area. However, the cover of the series depicting this region, Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, looks like it will be inspired by World War II fighter pilots as well. So that should be something at the very least. Number 29. The Monarchy of M. This area is based on House of M, which refers to a time where the Scarlet Witch went crazy bananas and created a world where the mutants became dominant on Earth relative to the human race. Like in the original story, Magneto controls this domain. You can find out more about this area in the House of M tie-in. Number 30. Sentinel Territories. If you're a destructive robot eager to oppress some fleshy organics, then this might be the place for you. Taking place in the Days of Future Past universe, this domain is under control of Sentinel forces, featuring exciting attractions in it such as death camps, mass graves, wreckage, and more death camps. The Sentinel Territories feature something for everyone, regardless of whether or not you consent to it. This domain is controlled by Master Mold, a giant sentinel that can create and control lesser sentinels. You can find out more about this fun-loving domain in the tie-in Years of Future Past. Number 31. The Wastelands. Good news, everyone! It's another desert! This area takes place in the Old Man Logan universe, where all the villains killed all the heroes years ago, and America was left in ruins. Yay! From what we've seen, most of it was inspired by the western region of the US from the Old Man Logan story. Whatever Baron once ruled this domain, likely the Red Skull, this was thrown into chaos after Wolverine returned and began to kill the villains that once controlled this area. This region seems to have largely fallen to chaos since then. You can find out more about this area in the Old Man Logan tie-in. Number 32. Utopia. Little is known about this area other than it was inspired by Grant Morrison's all-new X-Men series. This is a great and well-regarded series that is often viewed as a stellar run with the X-Men. It's unclear what this area will be like or what comics will depict this area. You can blame Wikipedia for not having this information and for me to be too lazy to look into this any more than I already have. Number 33. Westchester. This place is inspired by the classic location of the X-Men's home and the 1992 X-Men television series. This domain is run by anti-mutant activist Robert Kelly, who's usually an asshole to the X-Men. You can find out more about this area in the comic X-Men 92, which has been advertised as a continuation of the original cartoon. Wow, with so many cool X-Men territories, it's hard to believe that Marvel is secretly plotting to undermine the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in a secret conspiracy to undermine Fox. But we all know they secretly are because they edited a couple of t-shirts. Wait, aren't nerds supposed to be smart? Number 34. Killville. Surrounded by a land of mutants, sentinels, and a city of people who apparently don't know what year it is, lies Killville, a city of villains and monsters. There are no heroes to protect the innocent, because they were all killed by MODOK. This domain's Baron is Baron Modor, Baron, who tolerates the existence of MODOK only because the being viciously protects the borders of Killville. If you like utter chaos, violent death, and widespread destruction, then this may be the place for you. You can find out more about this area in MODOK Assassin. Number 35. Arcadia. And now we come to the Garden of Battleworld, featuring a lush climate, friendly people, and protection through a hot team of lady superheroes. Arcadia is pretty much everything you could ever want out of Battleworld. She-Hulk is this domain's Baron, and this area is not based on any specific universe, instead featuring a ton of Marvel's characters all in one area. You can find out more about the series in A-Force, a tie-in which I've really liked so far. Number 36. Bar Sinister. We've already heard a little bit about this area in the core Secret Wars series. This is the domain ruled by Mr. Sinister, and it was inspired by the Mutant Massacre event, where a bunch of mutants were killed in the sewers one time. It's probably just horrible here. It's run by a guy named Mr. Sinister. Whether we see any more about this area in the comics is beyond my knowledge at this time. Number 37. Limbo. The last domain north of the wall. This area features another version of Manhattan. I guess a very large version of Manhattan? But before you buy your wicked tickets and start trying to figure out how to recreate that piano scene from that movie at FAO Schwartz, you might be advised to know that this entire area has been taken over by demons. So, unless you're into that sort of thing, I'd avoid picking this place to buy a condominium. Besides, housing's always so expensive in New York. This area is based off of Inferno, an older X-Men story where Colossus' sister, Ileana Rasputin, was transformed into the demon Darkchild, while Madeline Pryor, a clone of Jean Grey, was corrupted into the Goblin Queen. This culminated in a demonic invasion of New York City. While the demons were defeated in the original tale, on Battleworld they took over New York, and the Goblin Queen became this area's Baron. Eventually, Scott Summers took over as this domain's ruler under currently unknown circumstances. But for more information, you can check out the Inferno tie-in. Now, let's go over the 3 worst domains of Battleworld, also known as Part 3, The Forbidden Zones. Number 38, The Deadlands. Zombies live here, from the Marvel Zombies event. So it's all pretty straightforward. The ravenous dead proved to be a threat to all life on Battleworld, which is why the Great Doom was wise enough to keep them on the other side of the wall. You can find out more about this region in 2 comic book series, Marvel Zombies and Age of Ultron vs. Marvel Zombies. Number 39, Perfection. Speaking of dangerous areas of death and dying, Perfection houses the alternate timeline from Age of Ultron, where the villainous robot has conquered Earth and rules unchallenged. Here on Battleworld, Ultron serves as one of the 3 great threats reserved to the other side of the wall. Number 40, New Xandar. Oh hey, you might be thinking, it's Xandar, that place where all the Nova guys were from in that Guardians of the Galaxy movie. This might be a fun place to live. Well, it's not. Yeah, it's been infected by the Annihilation Wave, a ferocious army from the universe called the Negative Zone. The Nova Corps do remain active in this area, but things clearly aren't going all that well for them. The Annihilation Wave threatens all of Battleworld, but to make matters worse, Thanos is hunting the Infinity Gems in this area. New Xandar is based on the Infinity Gauntlet, a major crossover from the 80s that is basically serving as the overall story for all 3 phases of Marvel's cinematic universe. So you probably have at least the basic ideas of the story down. There are these infinity gems, they're very powerful, and Thanos wants to catch them all to impress his girlfriend, Death. Though they might leave that last part out of the movies. Number 41. The Shield. The Shield is also called the Wall, and is based on A Song of Ice and Fire by George it's based on Siege, a big story from several years ago, where Norman Osborn took over S.H.I.E.L.D., rallied all the villains, and led an attack on Asgard, which was floating just above a small town in Oklahoma at the time. The Wall, that is, the Shield, serves as a vital area that protects Battleworld from the 3 Forbidden Zones. It is a holy and critical place to the safety of our world. Anyone who ever transgresses the borders of the other Battleworld domains is sent here to serve the rest of their life out on the Wall under penalty of, hey, wait, this is Game of Thrones. We're talking about the Shield here, not the Wall. Anyway, the Shield is basically a place where criminals are sent to complete this important but vague and unending task of protecting the Wall from a largely unseen but looming threat, while the rest of the world is embroiled in petty politics or, hey, stop cutting to Game of Thrones, this is different! Anyways, like I was saying, Jon Snow serves as the leader of the Night's Watch after her predecessor was killed out in the Deadlands. She has several companions, including a version of Hawkeye named Kate Bishop, America Chavez from Arcadia, a version of Ileana Rasputin, and Samwell Tarly. This isn't a place you choose to go to, it's where you're sentenced. And those are all the domains on the map. But wait, there's more! Part 4. Areas not on the map of Battleworld. Number 42. Nowhere. Not much is known exactly of the world outside of Battleworld. We don't even know about the climate of Battleworld. Presumably it has one star like Earth, and with it a sense of seasons and time. But we do know that Battleworld has a moon called Nowhere. While not considered a domain, this city orbits Battleworld and will be depicted on the pages of Guardians of Nowhere. Number 43. Genosha. This little island exists on several different versions of Marvel worlds, usually as a home to many mutants. But it is a small island that likely exists as part of Utopia or the Monarchy of M, and will be depicted in the comic tie-in E is for Extinction, which is named after the first story in Grant Morrison's All New X-Men. And that's it. Ugh, Christ, Marvel. No wonder some people are finding this event confusing and a little bloated, and there's still more comics I haven't mentioned that are a part of Secret Wars. Part 5. Other Secret Wars comics. Number 1. Prologue material ranging from basically all of New Avengers, Time Runs Out itself, Avengers World, and Miles Morales the Ultimate Spider-Man. Number 2. The Secret Wars core series that will likely involve many different domains of Battleworld. Number 3. Ghost Racers. This looks cool and takes place in somewhere called the Arena. If I had to guess, I would say it either exists in Doomstadt or Limbo. Number 4. Red Skull, which will feature characters from several different domains traveling to the Deadlands to settle a score with the Red Skull. Number 5. The Runaways are back with a new volume taking place on an unknown domain of Battleworld. Likely they are going to run away from one domain to another. Yeah, that would make sense to me at least. Number 6. Secret Wars, Journal, Battleworld, and Secret Love, all of which represent various anthology projects taking place all over Battleworld with different artists and writers attached. Number 7. Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde. The only thing I know about this one is that it's with the Kitty Pryde from the Age of Apocalypse universe, and by the looks of things, Star-Lord is the survivor from the original 616 universe. Number 8. Ultimate End, which depicts the final days of the Ultimate Universe. Number 9. Secret Wars Last Days, a series of comics depicting the final days of many characters in the 616 universe. Number 10. Extinction Agenda, named after a story that featured the X-Men reuniting against a big threat after being broken up for some time. This place likely takes place in the Sentinel Territories or Utopia. Number 11. Deadpool's Secret Wars, where we learn about what Deadpool was doing during the original Secret Wars. Part 6. Thank God it's over. So I made this early on Secret Wars on purpose, to try and give you a rough idea about what's going on in each comic without being bogged down with the actual story of each tie-in. As you can see, there's a lot going on here, but the nice thing is that it's a big world, so you don't really have to worry about every single comic. They all tell their own story, so you only really need to pick the core series and whatever sounds interesting to you. I also have been getting a lot of questions about what all this means for Marvel's ongoing continuity. Let me make it clear that I have absolutely no idea. I have no inkling as to whether or not Marvel is going to do a reboot, where everything exists in time relative to everything else, or what's going to happen in the next story. Nor do I really care. I care about whether or not a story is good, and if the comic is fun. Continuity is a secondary thing. It can be useful, but it's not mandatory. So far, most of Secret Wars has been pretty fun, and I look forward to what happens next. My guess is that this is all leading up to what DC and Marvel usually do, which is a soft reboot that keeps the stuff that works and gets rid of the stuff that doesn't. This isn't the end of Marvel Comics as we know them, it's just a big, awesome event that we get to enjoy for the rest of the summer. So have fun with it. I know I will be. Let me know what you think of my Visitor's Guide to Battleworld. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep reading comics.